If you don't know how to self-dispatch, you don't own a trucking business, you own an expensive hobby. Hey y'all, I'm the Hotshot Doc, real life doctor, real life hotshot carrier, and I'm coming to you live out of North Alabama. And today I'm breaking down self-dispatching, how to talk to brokers, and the extra fees most new drivers don't even know they can charge. This is basic, beginner level stuff. It is not conclusive whatsoever, but it's the foundation for making real money in hotshot trucking. There's a lot of great resources out there about how to self-dispatch. I will say, as a single owner op, it's probably good. It's a little hard to do this stuff on the road, but you can do it. Once you start having multiple leased on drivers, it becomes too much very, very quickly. Go ahead and get you a dispatcher, and it's their dedicated job to do these things. Okay, so what does self-dispatch actually mean? Self-dispatching means you find, book, run, and bill your own loads. No dispatcher, no lease on carrier, no one taking a cut. You keep 100% of the revenue, but you also carry 100% of the responsibility. Most hotshot drivers start out this way because margins are tight, loads are time sensitive, and control means profit. Before you even look at load boards, if you don't have these, stop right here. Remember, you've got to have this compliance paperwork to be on the road. Active US DOT and MC authority, insurance or that COI, your UCR, IFTA and other compliance basics, a reliable truck and trailer, a fuel card, and a phone, laptop, and email that sounds professional. Self-dispatch rewards organized drivers and punishes sloppy ones. So let's talk about some load boards. What's a load board? It's your lifeline. You don't need all of them. You need 2 or 3 good ones. Top load boards for Hotshot right now are DAT1. It has the most volume. Truck Stop. It has great rating tools. Book It Now. 123 load board is an affordable option, and Truck Smarter is free. I don't think they have great quality loads, but there's some people who do good on it. Set alerts for your trailer type. The weight limits, that's what's really going to make it here. Deadhead under 100 miles. Depending on where you end up and the time of year, you may learn to be more flexible on that point. And minimum RPM, or rate per mile. If you don't filter, you're going to drown in the absolute amount of information out there, so make sure you've got it set for the type of truck, trailer, and everything that you're running. Plan in advance by 2 or 3 days is probably the second best piece of advice I can give you. So you should have a daily self-dispatch routine. This is what real drivers, real dispatchers actually do. You have got to start early. Trucking is not for people that like to sleep in. It's really not for people that like to sleep at all. I'll just put it that way. But if you start early, you go, and I'm talking 5 a.m., you are on that load board, you are calling brokers, you are trying to get a hold of people, and you've also got to remember your time zone. So make sure, because the East Coast is going to open up earlier than the West Coast, but the West Coast is going to be working later. So it gives you an opportunity to sort of shuffle across regions as you're looking for over-the-road jobs, or, hey, I just need to get out of here because it's dead sort of stuff. So start early, between 5 and 7. I would say 5. Some places don't open till 6, but a lot of people who are brokers want to get in, get out for the day, so they'll be there early. Look near your current location or where you want to be. Avoid a heavy deadhead if you can. There are certain parts of the country that are just hard to get out of. They have whole maps and software about that topic alone. Go out, look it up, look and see what are the best states that are easy to get in and out of. People are like, oh, I'll get $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to go over to Washington State. Well, unless you have a way to get back out of there, it can be really difficult. Competition's steep. Texas is another one of those really hot freight places. You can make good money if you can get in there and get in good with some of the brokers and dispatchers, but otherwise it can be hard to operate in. So you want to avoid a heavy deadhead if you can, and prioritize profit over miles. So you've got to keep that rate per mile minimum in your head at all times, and you want to stay above it. Otherwise, you're paying to drive, and we don't need to be doing that. I think there's a call in the industry by most experienced truckers to not accept less than $2 per mile at early 2026. So a lot of that comes back to how old the company is that you're running under, how nice the broker is, how much competition is in the market right then, how much experience you have as a driver, how good your dispatcher is at having connections and getting you loads with the brokers. It all makes a difference at the end of the day. Quick math rule: revenue divided by total miles loaded and deadhead. So the goal, you know, the internet says you want to be $3 plus rate per mile. It's been rough this past year. I think as an industry standard on the minimum, most people are trying to stay at least $2 or above. Most people's operating costs are going to be closer to like the $1.50 per mile kind of range. So you want to stay above that as much as possible because that's all you're getting to take home. Red flag anything under $2 loaded. There are brokers and shippers that are absolutely taking advantage of the industry right now. I completely understand the truckers and why they're saying if y'all will quit accepting cheap loads, there will stop being cheap loads. The problem is there's always someone willing to work for less. And there's people I know that take loads that they basically pay to drive, and that's dumb. We should not be doing that. So keep your standards. This is the only way I, can see that we're gonna start getting paid what we should per mile. That's a whole other topic, guys. We're not even going to touch on that right now. Essentially, cheap loads will bankrupt you slowly. Quit paying to work. All right. So how do you start to talk to brokers without sounding new? Best bet, get on YouTube and start listening to example phone calls. Really get used to the vocabulary that's being used. You want to be able to know what a tonneau is without having to look it up and spend 10 minutes on the phone trying to understand a broker because they're not going to wait on you. So brokers don't hate new carriers. They hate unreliable ones. And that's the problem with being a new carrier is that there's been enough sketchy people that everybody's kind of cautious and burnt. So new doesn't mean that you've been vetted. So before you call, check broker reviews and days to pay. Know your minimum rate and have your packet ready. So we talked about it in the last video, the basic paperwork packet that you want to have, the insurance, the W-9, yada, yada, yada. Go look at that video if you want to list it out again. Simple call script. So this is how you want to call. You found the load that you want. You verified that your factoring company will work with this brokerage, that they will pay, that you accept the fact that it's going to take however many days for them to pay, or the fact that they don't factor with you and you know it's going to be 30, 60, or 90 days, whatever the contract says. So this is, you've decided on this load, we're going to call them, we're going to try to book it. Ring, ring. Hi, this is blank with the name of your company. Give them your MC number, give them your DOT number, and say, I'm calling about your load from, Washington State to New York. Is it still available? A lot of times the load board will give you a reference number that you can give them as well. Sometimes they'll have a specific broker name rather than just a general broker number, and it'll say call or email John at this, mention this load number, this reference number, so make sure to include that information as well. Ask questions before the price. What's the weight? What's the dimensions? What are the pickup and delivery windows? And is there any tarping or special requirements? Once you get this information down, make sure, because you're making sure you can actually pull this, because sometimes they will list oversized loads, and it's like, oh, this great, like $5 per mile. What is that about? Oh, it's oversized. I'm going to have a police escort, special permits for every freaking county I drive through. It's usually not worth your effort at that point unless you're specialized in doing that. So once you figured out you can do it, it sounds like a good load, you know if you're tarping or not, then you can ask them what's the rate on it. If they quote you low, which they're going to do because they're business people, the lower they quote you, the more they take home, right? So you can say, I appreciate it, but based on the lane and deadhead, I'd need this amount to make it work. Is there any room to come up? Be polite, be confident, and be willing to walk away from the job at the end of the day. It's all about not being desperate, if you will. Sometimes we are desperate, but we cannot let that come through in our talking with other business folks. So practicing your bartering skills is going to come in really well for you here. So make sure you're comfortable saying that that's too low of a rate. I need you to come up Know what that minimum number is for yourself before you call, and just be confident in it. Sometimes they'll say, I don't have any wiggle room, and at that point, it's up to you if you need to take the hit or, move on and find a better load. So never move a load without a rate con. No rate con equals no load. The rate con should list the pay, the pickup and delivery info, any accessory fees, which I'm going to go over at the end of this packet, the broker contact number, and the load number. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. Make that a golden rule. Tattoo it on your forehead. Don't get a load without this signed rate con. Don't not show up after you sign the rate con, because that's a breach of contract. I go over that in a previous video as well. And then don't pay to work. So not only should you know your minimum rate per mile, but you should not be putting money up front to a brokerage or a shipper in order to come and get a lane or a load. That's not how it works. Don't do it. Paperwork equals getting paid. At pickup, you're going to sign the BOL, take photos once it's loaded. That way they can see, hey, we left the shipper in great condition. At delivery, you get a signed BOL or pod after they have inspected it and unloaded it. Don't let them stick you with some fraud, scammy damage. Take photos, send it to the broker. Photos will save your butt. So once you've done that, then you can submit your rate con, your BOL, invoice if required. You're going to send all of these things to your factoring company or whatever you're using in that situation. Fast paperwork equals faster money. I go over some factoring companies and the ones that we really like in a different video. Extra fees new drivers forget to charge. Things you may not have even known you could charge for. Here's everybody's favorite part of the video. They are called accessorial charges. This is where experience pays. You can often charge a detention fee. So after 2 hours, you can usually get another $50 to $90 per hour that they have you sitting there. You can do a layover fee, a tonneau fee. There's a bunch of different fees here. Let me get my chart pulled up and we'll go over them specifically. So a detention fee is waiting time at pickup or delivery beyond the free grace period, which is 2 hours. Sometimes check your rate con, they'll have different hours listed for that, but it's typically about 2 hours. So when would you know this is happening? When they have delayed loading or unloading you and it's messing up your entire schedule, but you've got a signed rate con and you can't leave. This is why this fee exists. You'll typically get in 2025 another $50 to $90 per hour, and it's pretty common in Hotshot and requires timestamps, or the broker will have tracking on you and know what's going on. In any case, for any fee type, make sure you get on the phone with the broker and get it in writing. If it's not in writing, you're not getting paid. Another type of fee is a layover fee. That's an overnight or full day delay preventing next load. You can usually, and you should, leave the site for this kind of fee. Why would it happen? They were for some unknown reason, they were unable to load or unload you the day that they said they would. Typically, you will get paid between $150 to $500 flat per day. Again, call the broker, and they, at this point, usually would be on the phone with you anyway, because this is now messing up everybody. Special note, it can be higher, a layover fee can be higher for specialized rigs, and it often follows an excessive detention. So if you've been sitting around for like 4 hours, now we're starting to talk about a layover fee. Alright, we've said tonneau fee several times. What in the heck is a tonneau fee? It's a truck order not used. So this is when the load gets canceled after the truck dispatched or is en route. The rate con has been signed, but something happened with the customer or the shipper or the broker, and this is no longer happening. They're basically letting you off the hook, and they're going to pay you for it. What usually triggers this? Some sort of last-minute cancellation. Same day is pretty common in this freight market. The average amount that you're going to get paid between $150 to $300, and if it's for something super special and important, maybe even up to $500. They'll usually have this spelled out in the rate con, so make sure you know what it is before you sign it, because you don't want to get paid $50 if they cancel, right? That's just not worth anybody's time, especially if you started driving towards them. Special note, There is no TANU fee if it's canceled the day before cutoff, typically, and proof of dispatch will be needed. So if you've started driving but you're not supposed to pick up till the next day for some odd reason, I feel like that would be a special situation. Just talk to the broker. These fees are not uncommon, not unheard of. Everybody knows what it is. Just call and ask. All right, what is the next fee? A lumper fee. This is for third-party labor for loading and unloading. It's pretty common at warehouses, grocery stores, construction sites. If it's really big equipment, sometimes they had to pull out a specialized crane for one load that we drove. The driver will not be handling the loading and unloading manually, is why this would happen. And the average amount you would get paid is between $50 and $300. Receipt is required. Driver often pays this up front and then gets reimbursed from the broker with a receipt. I don't really like that. I like to know in advance what's happening. Just don't pay for stuff out of pocket unless you're in a corner and need to get out of there, and then make sure you've called and verified with the broker first. All right, redelivery fee. Second attempt after failed delivery. Example, it was rejected or no one was available. I think this is typical for like grocery store deliveries. What would trigger this is the receiver issues. There was receiver issues on the first try when you tried to deliver your load. Typically, you'll get between $100 to $500, depending on how specialized or how, like if you're driving a reefer truck, you're having to sit over there overnight, and now you've thrown off all the rest of your delivery, so you're going to get paid a little bit more. Special note, this is costly as it blocks out another full day, and this is why nobody's happy really to get these extra fees, because it's causing a lot of scheduling issues for other things. So another type of fee you might hear is a driver assist for loading and unloading. This is when the driver helps to load and unload beyond standard protocol. It's typically when there's no dock or labor at the site. I am trying to remember when I last saw this for our drivers, and I believe it was at an auction house for vehicles, and nobody was there. It was after hours, so we got to have a driver assist for loading some sort of broken down truck onto his trailer because he had to go out and get a special something because it wouldn't roll. It was a whole thing. Typically you'll get between $50 to $200. It's pretty rare for a contract to say driver no touch. I've actually never seen one, so this is a fairly common fee in my opinion, depending on if what you're dealing with. We'll say that. Alright, so the last extra fee that's pretty common is called a stop off or additional stops. This is when there's extra pickup and drop off beyond the original destination. It's a multi-stop load. This is usually up front, and they'll typically give you between $50 to $150 per stop. Make sure you negotiate up front for partials. On always, what's the golden rule that we stamped on our forehead? Get it in writing beforehand. Get it signed and in writing. Alright, here's the rule. If it's not on the rate con, expect a fight. Document everything, timestamps, messages, photos. Evidence, evidence, evidence. You gotta think like a lawyer. Alright, so big picture advice for all of this. Don't chase cheap freight. It's usually not worth the hassle, but I will say you can stack several partials if you're going in a general direction and make a pretty decent load for yourself if you're not able to find one good load for over $2 a mile. Build relationships with good brokers. If you find one that's easy to work with, ask them to save their information. Keep their cell phone on file. Let them know what kind of rig you're running and if they have anything in the area where you're at. Sometimes you can get back-to-back loads all across the country just with one good broker. Chain loads to reduce deadhead. So what that's talking about is, let's say you're in Atlanta and you're headed north to New York. You had one partial load that you could pick up in Atlanta, and as you're driving north, you get through, I don't know, somewhere in Kentucky, Knoxville, and they had a second partial you could add on there. Now you're looking at over $3 a mile just by adding a second load. And you got to be careful how you do that. If you're going to be stacking loads on top of each other, think about how it's going to have to sit on the trailer to make it work, right? So always keep the big picture in your head and what you're going to have to do. Track every dollar and protect your hours of service and reputation, because getting blacklisted gets you out of business, essentially. So, after 6 to 12 months, the goal is direct shippers. That's where real stability comes from. There is high competition out there, guys. It's hard, but you'll get there. To wrap up, self-dispatching isn't complicated, it's disciplined. If you can, do the math, communicate clearly, and say no to bad freight. Don't be afraid to say no. You can make this business work. In the next episode, I think I would like to cover factoring companies. We've talked about it. Let's finally do it. Alright, y'all, I'm going to wrap this up for the night. If you liked this video, if it was helpful information for you, give it a like, give it a subscribe, send it to your friends that also don't know what they're doing, and I will do my best to keep y'all compliant and on the road. It's the Hotshot Doc, y'all. Roll Tide and roll on.